Welcome to the NEPA Scene Podcast. We're coming to you live from Cole Creative in downtown Wilkes-Barre. I'm Rich Howells. I'm the founder and editor of NEPA Scene.
Hi, I'm Ted Hebert, the guy who introduces himself second. I'm a comedian, and you go third. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. My name is Rich Drees. I'm the editor and publisher of FilmBuffOnline.
I'm Jason Riedmiller, photographer, and I'm back.
And I'm last, and I'm Connor Langan, musician, solo project Willrow Hood. Star Wars reference there. Plug. Shameless plug.
Shamelessly plug everything, that's why we're here.
Yep.
Exactly. That's the whole
Podcast
purpose.
I'll keep the shame.
And tonight we're doing an hour-long commercial for Disney, so we might as well get our own shit in there.
For nothing.
You can say Disney on this channel.
Oh, yeah.
It's already flagged.
They pulled the podcast. Somebody said the D word.
Well, tonight we are recording a special episode of the NEPA Scene Podcast, a holiday special, if you will. We are talking about Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Does that make you B. Arthur?
I hope so.
No spoilers,
Oh,
okay?
shit, son.
No spoilers.
Mod.
So we've
gonna
gathered this panel of scruffy-looking nerf herders to geek out with us and decide if Rian Johnson has brought balance to the franchise or left it in darkness with the latest Star Wars movie. So if you don't understand that reference, you can just tune out right now. That's totally fine. If you do and you're a Star Wars fan, please stick with us. Tune in. We want to hear your questions and comments for our panel here, or whatever you thought about the movie. If you liked it, you disliked it. We would love to hear from you, so please leave those comments down below. We will get to them at some point in the show. And I realize right off the bat we're not doing anything new. By now most of the internet has talked about it and put all the spoilers out there and that sort of thing. So the first couple of minutes of the show, we're not going to get into spoilers. We're going to give some general opinions. And then from that point on, we're definitely getting into spoilers at some point in the show. So if you haven't seen the movie yet and you don't want anything spoiled for you, we'll tell you when to tune out. But otherwise, stick with us for a couple of minutes. We've got a lot to do. Brittany and Johnny obviously are not here. Brittany has never seen a Star Wars movie, which we will have to correct at some
Brittany.
point.
What?
We
I
need
can't
to talk, Brittany.
I can't believe that. But Johnny's wife is currently having a child, so I could see why he wouldn't want to
Yay.
hear
Right.
I can't.
for a
Acceptable
franchise that he doesn't really like.
This is important.
But before we get into the interview, we have some beers to introduce from Beer Boys. So they provide us with these awesome crowlers. They have 72 beers on tap. Lots of really good stuff. This week we're trying Tommyknocker's Blood Orange IPA, which sounds good. This one I'm not sure if I'll enjoy or not. It's Breaker Brewing's Mindfire Jalapeño Blackberry Ale. Anything with a couple of weeks ago we had one that was like drinking pure pepper. So I don't know I don't know how that one's gonna be. It sounds like it's got some other stuff in there to maybe balance out the jalapeno. So we'll see. There's also Fegley's Devious Imperial Pumpkin, which I believe we've had before on the show. This is 9%, so this one's a good strong one. Maybe we'll start off with that one first. So we also want to give a shout out to our other sponsors, the Keys in downtown Scranton. Their open mic is on Thursday, and coming up January 5th is the Charming Beards EP release show. They're friends of the show. They played our fundraiser festival. They're really great, and you should definitely check that out. There's a folk night with Mike Miz, American Buffalo Ghost, and Chris Kearney on January 6th. And I'm sure they'll have music going on this weekend. They didn't have anything posted yet, but I'm sure if you go down there on a Friday or Saturday night, there's going to be good music to check out. Now, the V-Spot is our newest sponsor. They're one of the biggest, most popular bars in NEPA, so I don't have to really give them an introduction of any sort. But this Thursday, they have London Force Duo, which London Force actually just recently broke up, so that's probably the only way you can really see them now. We have photos coming up, hopefully by the end of the week, from their last show at the V-Spot. Taken Back on Friday, Fuzzy Mud on Saturday, And on Sunday is a special New Year's Eve party with Angelina and her band. So if you're looking for something to do New Year's Eve, I'm sure there's going to be a lot of drinking and dancing and merriment there. So definitely check that out if you're looking for something to do. And Loyalty Barbershop and Shave Parlor is a sponsor as well. They have locations in Scranton, Archibald, and a new shop in Wilkes-Barre on South Main Street, just down the road from here. So, which one? Do we want to do the Imperial Pumpkin first?
I'm so indifferent.
I
doesn't
would
matter
think
to
so.
you.
Yeah.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I would say that the Empire has a pretty strong presence here, so probably.
Yeah. I should probably let Kylo decide.
Yeah. Calm him down some.
Seems like a 4 Loko guy.
He's very intense.
Smashing up the liquor store because they don't have the watermelon one.
If anybody else, Gerard or anybody behind the scenes wants some of this, you're gonna have to come. You're gonna have to come and get it. So
Thank you.
I'll bring you a beer, Gerard.
use the Force.
Here, give me this beer.
Oh, did he? Oh, so everything's good then? Oh, well, congratulations to Mr. and Mrs. Popko. Yeah, new call. He's starting in a few weeks, so better get prepared.
Better learn to talk.
I don't know. We've had plenty of people on the show who don't know how to talk, so I think we'll be all right.
I've been here before. We know that.
As long as you know how to listen.
Maybe I'll be tonight's guest.
I'm batting 0 here.
So I guess we should start by remembering Carrie Fisher. It was not planned, but this is the day that she
I
died
only
last
realized
year.
that when you posted it.
Yeah, I didn't either. It just happened to pop up in my news feed, and I was like, oh man, it's great timing, but awful. It just
Awful timing.
brings it all back up again.
Yeah.
you know, so and Alfie Curtis, who was Dr. Evazan in the original movie. He's the guy who says he has a death sentence on 12 systems and starts the fight with Luke. I don't know if I have to tell
Gets
you
poor
guys,
Papa Honda's arm cut off.
but
for him.
yeah.
He didn't even speak English.
So
Only person to ever bleed from a lightsaber wound.
They were figuring things out.
Yeah.
So I
It
guess
seems
it's fair to
obvious,
say
but-
he'll be dead because he's actually dead now.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so that's a somber way to start things off. But what did we think of the movie overall? Let's start with that.
Well, I loved it. I'm a Rian Johnson fan from when I first saw Brick. I was very excited once they were announced. He was announced as the director. I was like, okay, because usually we're starting to see where you direct a couple of indie films and then they give you a big franchise. It doesn't always quite work out.
Right.
So even before this came out, when Lucasfilm announced that, we're going to give Johnson the next trilogy to do whatever he wants with, I was like, well, if they're giving him that kind of carte blanche, then what we have coming up in the next couple of weeks is probably going to be really amazing.
Right.
And I think it was.
I also thought it was fantastic, and I'm also kind of went in with a pre-bias as a big Rian Johnson fan of Looper and Brick were amazing. And I was excited for him to ruin people's childhoods.
Which he has done successfully.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I thought it was great. I mean, I didn't know anything about Rian Johnson prior to this. I mean, he directed the best episode of Breaking Bad. So I thought
Somebody
that
else
was
told me that,
That's
too.
right.
Yeah.
Ozymandias. But I thought the movie was great, and it didn't ruin my childhood. it made it a little bit better.
Ted, how's your childhood?
A little bit behind me. But I thought the movie was good. It wasn't like I kind of went in dreading the worst because I don't know.
You seem like a negative person.
Yeah, a little bit.
You don't seem like you enjoy stuff.
It's my niche. I don't enjoy stuff if I can help it. But no, the Star Wars. I thought there was I liked everything about it at certain moments, but there was nothing that I thoroughly enjoyed from like start to finish. Like every story element or like every space battle or whatever, there was at least one thing where I just like if I don't know.
So where would you put it overall?
Oh, it was
Is like smack in the middle?
It was a Star Wars movie, that's for sure. I'd definitely give it like an 8 out of 10 on that.
Oh yeah.
On those merits
Star Wars.
alone.
Sit right up front.
But on the
First 2 words
Yeah.
on the screen.
very true.
No.
No, wrong.
Wrong. Wow. Well, I'll be leaving everyone. The first words, we all know what they are.
So, all right. So that, I mean, I don't think we can talk about anything else without really getting into spoiler territory. Or
We
at
can
least
talk
ruining
about my
something
toy
for somebody.
photography for 2 minutes.
We can. You have a Geek Art Photo.
Yes, I
which is on
photograph
Instagram.
these and blow them up and put smoke bombs on them.
Yeah. So these guys who are lined up here, ready to.
And they're on Instagram at Geek Art Photo. That wasn't 2 minutes at all. We got 30 seconds out of that tops.
At least you're
Want me to
consistent.
keep going? Want me to keep pushing it? Or
If
should
you
we
want.
go?
You
You want
wanna-
to spoil shit for people? If you haven't seen the movie by now,
You should be watching.
fuck you.
You should be watching.
You're either not gonna see it or fuck you.
We were gonna do this last week. We wanted to give it an extra week, and it just worked out because our guest last week could only do last week's show, so it worked out. But we wanted to give you that extra little holiday time to go out with the family and see the movie if you haven't yet. So at this point, if you haven't seen Star Wars, you have to kind of assume if you're online somewhere, someone's going to ruin something for you. So from here on out, spoilers.
One more thing to kill time. I so badly wanted to tune in last week and have you ask Justin about Dixon City Dave, who is the...
Who is that?
That's the pseudonym, stage name I came up with for Justin. Justin
okay.
doesn't like it, which is why I wanted to ask
Wanted
about
to
it.
throw that in
But
there.
If anybody can, write Dixon City Dave on Justin's Facebook. Thank you.
It's Justin Mazer, by the
Justin
way.
Mazer,
There's a lot
yeah,
of Justins
sorry.
on Facebook,
Sorry.
so you
But
might want
there's-
to be specific about which Justin we're referring to.
There's only one Justin in our hearts. All right, now let's spoil shit.
Okay, so right off the bat, obviously, there's a lot of things that were kind of twists and turns. There were a lot of things that you thought were going to happen, and then they completely changed direction at the last minute to give you something to surprise you. So were you guys genuinely surprised by the stuff that you saw in the movie?
I had it spoiled for me by the internet.
Oh,
I can't,
no.
Well, no, because the same thing happened with Force Awakens. You
Yeah.
follow too many pages, or you just go click on a few wrong posts and you get it spoiled. But
Yeah.
when I first read about it, I thought this sounded like the dumbest Star Wars movie ever. I was like, "There's no way these spoilers could be real." So I went into it with like, "All right, here we go. It's gonna be bad," but it was executed in the film very, very well. So I don't know.
I signed out of all social media for 3 days, and I highly recommend it, everybody, because it was a great 3 days. I was in such a good mood. Nothing aggravated
Just
me.
not on Wednesdays.
Not on Wednesdays. Always watch
But yeah,
the NEPA Scene Podcast, just like I do every week.
Yeah, you're lying.
I am lying. Maybe once a month.
Thanks for your support.
I know. With,
Shall we get into that? My support?
This is
Anyway.
what we should be getting heated over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Rich and I can fight later.
This is never podcast.
I know with just running a film blog, I'm constantly in that realm of news and rumor and trying to figure out what we want to report on at my site. So somehow though there were still a few things I remained unspoiled on, which was nice. Because I was sitting there going, oh shit, didn't know that was going to happen. Awesome. So that's always the problem I have going into a lot of movies, actually.
Right.
And I've gotten to a point where it's like, similar to what you said, we can, you hear something and it just depends on the execution ultimately. So that's how I, file all that away. I was like, okay, there's a thing with, this casino planet that could be good, it could be terrible. We'll see how it plays out.
But is knowing there's a casino planet really a spoiler?
For some people, it is.
No.
For some people, for me, it's like, they go to an ice planet. I didn't want to know that. Oh, Jesus. They're going to go to a
in the
planet with an
commercial.
environment.
I feel like, if it's in the trailer or the commercial,
That is
then
not a
it's
spoiler.
fine. Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
That
But it was
ruins
out
my
there
fan
long
fiction where they all die in the desert.
But it was out there long before
Right.
Canto Bight shows up in any of the
Well, I was going to say, I might be the one person in the world who went into the movie completely unspoiled. I watched the trailer, I read no articles, and I seriously logged out of all social media for 4 days before the movie, and I loved it. I was genuinely surprised. I really liked the direction they took a certain character named Luke, because, I'm not like I was 6 months ago,
Right.
let alone 30 years.
Yeah.
And to say he shouldn't have changed and they ruined childhoods, that first of all, if a movie can ruin your childhood, kids, you're an idiot. Because nothing up and including the Phantom Menace can ruin my childhood. Because some of my favorite memories, Timmy Hopkins and I being dragged out of First Holy Communion practice by the Most Reverend Bishop James Timlin, because I kept saying, Unjaba no bother. And Timmy kept responding, Unjaba Wookie. We thought that was hysterical.
You were right.
Jim Timlin? Not so much. He was unamused. We weren't really concerned what the other 100 kids receiving communion thought. We were just being disruptive. And seeing Empire Strikes Back at the Circle Drive-In when it first came out, when I was 5, if this movie coming out now ruins your childhood memories, you're an idiot. You should. I'm not going to say that, but y'all know what I was thinking.
What about you, Tim?
I didn't really feel like my childhood was compromised in any way. I did also manage to, for the most part, avoid spoilers. I knew that Phasma was going to be in it again for some reason.
Also, again, I don't think that's a spoiler.
No, I guess not, but any bit of information could be a spoiler. That's how I was treating it anyway. Just
Fair enough.
absolute quarantine. But I knew about that. But I went, having seen it now, I really like the direction that it went in. I don't necessarily think everything that happened on the path to that direction was logical or not goofy in an in-universe sense too, kind of. But overall, I thought that it could have definitely been significantly worse. It could have been Guardians of the Galaxy.
Which it was.
Ted.
There was.
Also, great movie.
Wasn't it though?
I love Guardians of the Galaxy, but I know what you're saying, where it gets into that territory tonally,
Yeah.
where it doesn't really make sense in Star Wars.
Where you
Star
expect a
Wars.
cutaway to Luke Skywalker sitting in the Dunder Mifflin office, being like, "Yeah, I can't believe Kylo Ren. He's just freaking out one day, and I just didn't know how to
I did
handle
not
it."
expect that. Did you expect that? Did you expect an Office reference in general or to be in the movie?
No.
I will say the one thing that really completely threw me out was the almost wink and a nod to the camera when he gets the milk out of the giant.
I love shit like
But
that.
he
It's
drinks
funny.
and then kind of almost winks at the camera, and it was like, what is this?
I don't
Did
know.
I
I was
just
No.
fucking see that?
I thought
When
that was so
Oscar Roper
stupid.
invented breaking the fourth wall.
Yes.
It changed
Mr.
my
Roper.
life.
I get it,
If
but
you don't get that,
It wasn't Groucho Marx.
it was not Groucho Marx. It was Mr. fucking Roper.
Okay.
Because I'm not old enough to know that.
Fuck you. I'm only 7 years older than you.
How do you know? Because you watch movies.
Yeah, I'm an old soul.
Fair enough.
But
Sorry.
But for that shot where first of all, I was kind of surprised that Disney said, "Oh, good, we're milking a sea cow."
We're milking
Right.
the teat of a
Yeah,
sea cow.
I was a little taken aback, but
Well,
okay.
Kathleen Kennedy is pro-woman.
That could have been a metaphor too. Hey,
Send your
thanks
details to
for the
me,
new
not
yacht,
Rich.
nerds.
Fair enough. But when he gives that look almost to the camera, I kind of read that as he's daring Ray to, come on, take a swig.
I felt
sure.
it was both. He was clearly giving her that look, but it was into the camera.
right.
but it was also inferred that she was on the other side of the camera getting that look. He was saying, "This is how big of an asshole I am now. Are you prepared?"
Not that has anything to do with the plot overall,
Nothing.
which I think
Nothing.
was.
No,
You know, it was definitely very up and down. I think there was so many different sequences that people are arguing whether they're, should be in the movie or should not be in the movie, and so on and so forth. Obviously, the big one that everyone keeps talking about is the casino on Canto Bight. So, did you see the casino as like this horribly offensive thing that should not exist, or were you fine with it? Because it seems like everybody.
No, I thought it was a nice
is,
Temple of Doom reference. I really dug it.
No, I mean,
Okay.
This
Interesting.
kind of
that.
tied it a little bit in with the prequels. Like, had a little feel of the prequels.
It did
That
definitely
people might
did
hate
have.
that, but I mean, I grew up with the prequels, so I kind of liked it. But like, I don't know. I mean, I wish I could have saw some aliens that had been previously established in other Star Wars films,
Right.
instead of just a bunch of new ones
That's a
again.
good point. Like Rogue One, they
Why?
released
Why were
stuff
there
in it.
not? There's a big
Yeah.
casino planet. Why were there no huts? No Rhodians? No, like, no Twi'leks? Nothing?
See, I don't think on that level.
That,
I
never
guess
occurred to
That's
me,
now
really,
it would
no,
have
it's
been
really
cool.
nitpicky, but I didn't have any problem with the Canto Bight sequence at all. I mean, a lot of people say it's unnecessary. I don't know. It was true for the kids, I think. Which, at the end of the day, these movies
Also,
are
it
for
is
kids.
a kids movie.
These
We're
are
all
for children.
grown
These were
men
man
just
children.
discussing a kids movie.
If that has not already been pointed out in the comments, that yes.
Oh,
yes,
can
we're a
we
bunch
read
of
some
grown men.
comments? Are there
I don't know if there are any.
Very
yet.
cool.
No one cares about this. This is going to be the lowest rated podcast. It's like
Well,
five
that's why this-
dorks are talking about Star Wars.
When we in the old version of the show, we did do a Star Wars podcast, which Ted was on, and Rich was on as well. And it went over pretty well, but obviously this is a new format and kind of a reboot of what we've been doing over the past year. We started this version of the show back in March and haven't done anything like this yet. So this was kind of my experiment to see if people would actually like this kind of stuff. So if you like this or you don't like it, I would love to know your opinion on that, because then it's going to determine whether we do this again.
Tell your friends to drop what they're doing. Put this on right now.
Order a pizza. Gather the kids around the computer.
Bring us a pizza.
So you know what to think about the new Star Wars.
Let's see.
Sure, I
John
would also
Wayne
like a
Caldwell
pizza.
is tuned into the show, and he's giving us a play-by-play. So
I would expect
That's the-
nonetheless from JW.
that is the kind of Star Wars fan that we want listening to the show. So if you're still watching, we would love to hear more from you. So let's see. He says that we needed the casino to set up Rose and Finn for the next movie. They're going to smash the machine, and I think that's I think that the scene is necessary in the sense that the whole movie is about failure and dealing with that and coming to accept it. Mm-hmm. So the fact that their mission builds up to nothing and is a failure, it still puts them in the right spot, though, to fight Captain Phasma. Mm-hmm. So I mean, it has a purpose there. But I think overall, narratively, the point is that not every secret mission is just going to suddenly be a success. You're not always going to get the Death Star plans back to the rebels in time to blow up the Death Star.
And we already
didn't
saw
have any
that movie
Bothans.
last December. We saw the
Needed some
successful
Bothans.
movie.
Yes. And also,
Where everyone died. Rogue One
it introduces
spoiler.
the idea
Everyone
that
dies.
there are other Force users out in the galaxy. The stable hand. When we
Yep.
get that coda at the end, which
Yeah.
always feels really weird structurally. And the first time I watched the movie, I was like, I don't know if I like. I mean, I like what the coda is doing, but I was a little unsure about how it just doesn't fit the rhythm of a regular Star Wars film.
One thing I will say is,
Um,
did you feel like the everything that happened on the casino planet? Do you felt like the cinematography was a bit off? Like it didn't match the rest of the movie? That's one
It was
visual
A little
thing
bit,
that I
yeah.
saw.
It did have a
didn't-
different visual
It had
look.
a different look. It had a different vibe, but
And-
like completely like color balance, everything was different.
And that's possible because a lot of that was CG. Like there's so much,
Yeah.
CG stuff
CG
in there
sucks.
that they might have, and
That sequence might have been done by a different vendor.
yeah, it's
So,
who knows who.
But doesn't all this stuff still have to go to like what's that company that does the color? Are they still the company?
Technicolor?
Yes, it's at the end.
Oh, yeah, but they usually manufacture film. and Prince.
Oh yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah,
I don't know what the hell they're doing now.
Anymore.
Yeah.
Making dream coats.
Possibly.
How long did it take to get a Broadway reference going here? Jeez.
I mean,
Too long, man. Too long.
Absolutely.
if we didn't have Can't Don't Bite, we wouldn't have Mark Hamill voicing a little alien leprechaun, putting
True.
coins into BB-8. So we have that.
Mark Hamill can't do. He's contractually obligated from him to do some voiceover.
Oh,
I don't know if that's true.
I think he asked if he could do something.
He did the voiceover in Empire.
Did he really?
Yeah, he's the one who says the first transport is away when the Empire is attacking.
Yeah, Hoth. Yes,
That's
I
him.
remember.
That's him.
I remember the Hoth battle.
Why do I know this? I'm single, ladies. Surprise.
Well, you know, it's to speaking of Luke and Mark Hamill, I think it's interesting how another thing everybody's been talking about is his comments leading up to this were completely taken out of context.
Good idea.
Where, you know, he essentially said in a lot of interviews that he didn't agree with what Rian Johnson was doing with his character in the movie, and he didn't picture Luke being in this position or having this type of attitude. But to finish that thought, he says later, you know, I ended up seeing the movie and really liking it and enjoying what he did, and I loved shooting it, and I loved being there, and, you know, I approve of the movie. But a lot of people took that out of context as, oh man, he's shitting all over this movie.
Are you saying that someone on the internet took something out of context?
Yes.
And everyone ran with it?
For shitty clickbait headlines, the kind of stuff you will
Unbelievable.
never see on our site. But
Or on
they're
FilmBuffOnline.
Or on FilmBuffOnline.
That shit just drives me up a wall.
It's the low. There's diminishing returns when it comes to that stuff, because you could do that and get some clicks, but eventually when people see that there's nothing to it, or that you put that you lied to them essentially, then they completely distrust your organization anyway. So there's no point, in my opinion, to do that kind of stuff, because in the long run it hurts you.
Oh God, yeah.
But I don't think that a lot of people think that way, and they just want to get the clicks right away. So they kind of started with that. So what did you guys think of Luke's direction in this movie? Was it logical? Did you think it followed the right path for him 30 years later?
Well, makes perfect sense.
I thought it was completely logical. It made total sense. And people who say there's holes in the story apparently didn't see Empire Strikes Back and realized there were 3 years before Return of the Jedi came out and answered all those questions.
Right.
Because they weren't answered. And when Empire came out, it wasn't the favorite, most beloved Star Wars movie.
No,
People hated it.
There were a lot of reviews.
I don't know
it was too
what
dark.
other Star Wars movie people seem to be hating.
The Phantom Menace. Right? Is that what you're thinking of?
I will say, full disclosure, I saw each prequel in the movie theater once, and they were all fucking awful. And I kept going back, thinking they would get better.
I can't say I'm a
Especially
prequel fan
Phantom
either,
Menace.
but I see Connor's position where you grew up with those. I mean, these were
Right,
essentially
I know.
your Star
Yeah.
Wars in that sense.
I have friends who are younger than me who grew up and they're like, I don't mind Jar Jar Binks, and I'm just like, well, I don't know how I talk to you.
That's literally
Right.
fighting
But-
words.
Exactly. I feel that way sometimes.
Literally.
But, I can't take that away because, the original trilogy was mine, and there are like an older generation of science fiction fans who are just like, Star Wars, it's all magic and space wizards, blah. They don't
But I
like
like
it
that.
because
It is
there's
space fantasy.
explosions in
Science
space.
fiction.
I know.
Right.
They don't kind of get that idea.
I was actually having
So-
this conversation. Somebody was like, well, I don't like Star Wars because I don't like science fiction. I'm into fantasy. And I was like, well, then you should love Star Wars because it's not based in science whatsoever. It is completely
Right.
fantasy.
Yeah.
There is nothing
Oh, yeah.
realistic about it.
Desert planet, ice planet, big giant
What's
city
with
planet.
these- What's with these
what's an
planets that have
ecosystem?
no fucking ecosystems? I mean, come on. It's insanity.
I gotta be honest though, I really did not agree with Luke's whole motivation in this one. Like, I get, he tried to do what he presumably had to do as the inheritor of the Jedi and train the next generation.
What he felt he had to do.
Right, but also, I mean, if the Jedi have one central tenet, it's preserve the Jedi Order. Just keep kidnapping all the psychic children and making them Jedi. Nobody else gets any ever.
wow.
That's the point.
That is a solid.
Yeah.
That's a good way to look at it. We're gonna come and steal your children.
Right, and the
Train
first,
them to be monks
and he was
with
pretty
laser swords.
he was pretty sure, and teach them never to listen to their emotions, just repress it all the time,
Right.
and only do what you're told by this mystical energy force.
Which obviously worked out real well for Anakin.
yeah.
Yes.
And like the same thing,
Did.
yeah.
He never followed the rules.
And it's like the same thing with Ben Solo. It's like he was training him, and then he couldn't train him, so he thought he would kill him for a second, and then,
Well,
I get that,
that's
but
a
Your dad was Darth Vader. Maybe, yes, you would think, I might have to kill this guy. That's like saying, would you have killed Hitler? Yeah. If I had this foreknowledge and a time machine?
And it passed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When your
but-
father was Darth Vader and his grandson, you see him going that route, absolutely you might decide one night maybe I need to put his ass
right,
down.
and I'm not disputing that, and I'm not even saying don't do it. I'm just saying
Right, that
like
was your point.
after it went bad, Luke just decides I'm not gonna teach Jedi anymore. Like he just bails on the entire galaxy. Like he just, you know what? Fuck it. I gotta get back to Tashi Station one of these days anyway. They've had those fucking power converters on back order for like 30 years.
30 years. But like that is the thing that most people, not most people, but a good portion of people in positions of power, when they fail epically, they do tend to bow out and let other people come in. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know if there was somebody that could have taken on that responsibility if he had a sister. I don't know.
Well, she was apparently learning solo Jedi wizardry.
Well, if you read books,
Yeah.
she did. She did. It's all canon. She's a Force user. She just
Didn't want it.
Unless she was stuck in space and about to die, then she might.
To your
use one of
point, I
those
wish I had
tricks.
seen something that showed Kylo Ren going dark. Like, I would have liked to have seen that moment in the, like the prequels aren't great, but at least we got to see the moment where he finally snaps and starts, killing the Tusken Raiders
And the lead
going
up to
ape
it,
shit.
and the
Then
lead
then
up to it,
you see the kid and he turns the lightsaber on because he's gonna kill the younglings. Like,
But-
that's fucking that's cool. At least
That
we
was
got
too
to see
quick.
him
See,
snap.
I would have preferred
It
to
was
see
too
him
quick,
kill the young
but I
ones.
would have liked to have
But
seen
the
some
shit-
kind of flashback.
Exactly, there
that
was-
says,
there was, like, no
okay,
triggers
this
in
is why he's that way.
But you realize, though,
And then
this
I
is the
need
first
to-
film we've actually seen a legitimate flashback in
Yeah,
story structure.
That's a good point.
In Force Awakens, you had a Force vision, which kind of showed you a few things from the past. But I
Right.
don't consider that really a flashback.
It wasn't a
because
flashback.
it was happening in the present. It was a vision happening in the present. But you actually see that flashback, and actually they go a little Rashomon and show it in a couple different ways.
Right.
Because what's a Star Wars movie without like some Japanese film and Akira Kurosawa references? And I can think of at least two others. And so the way we always have these films traditionally structured, you can't get that flashback to Ben slowly going dark
Right.
and becoming Kylo.
And also,
Unfortunately, you just have to kind of go, okay.
I didn't think they as a lot of people had said, the runtime was obviously the longest of any Star Wars movie. There might have been some things they should cut. There were other things they should have put in that I think maybe that being one of them, or from what I've read so far, and I'm sure more of this stuff is going to come out once they get on the whole DVD and Blu-ray thing. But they said that there was an extra scene with Captain Phasma that was actually pretty interesting. And, I don't know how much of this is true or whatever, but from what I read, the scene it actually fleshes out that whole little bit, and she gets more of an actual moment.
I read about that.
Yeah.
Where she is able to, he essentially, Finn says in front of the stormtroopers, how, like I'm the traitor, you're the traitor. You know how we got those plans to blow up the last Death Star or whatever you want to call it. It's Death Star 3. Star Killer.
Yeah.
We got them from her because she gave them to us, and all the stormtroopers are like, "What the shit?" And they're like turning on her, so she ends up murdering them all. She kills all a whole group of stormtroopers.
Yeah, I wish
right
they
before
put
that.
if that's
like
real,
that
I
sounds
wish that
fucking
was
amazing.
Yes.
I don't think it seemed long. I thought for
No,
2 hours and
I
40
disagree.
minutes.
It-
I thought
it
it
agree.
flew
It
by.
clicks right along. I've
I
sat
do
through
agree.
90-minute movies where I'm like, oh,
Like
shit.
I thought it
Yeah.
flew by
37
for-
minutes already?
I would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen some more scenes
I
like
only
that.
stuck it out to watch him die.
Never
As
seen
much
it.
as
I
we
fell
like
asleep.
the Free Willy
terrible.
scene, you know, like, oh, let's let the animals go.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, I get it, but
See, that's the kid stuff that they gotta throw in to get
DJ
that
was
hook
awesome,
into
too.
the
When they walked out on that balcony and I saw like a big track, I'm like, these sons of bitches did not make more pod racers.
That didn't cross my mind, but
That's exactly where my mind went. I'm like, no. Gonna have these little.
I guess I go into these things excited to be surprised and wanting it to be good. Maybe that's bad. Is that not
No,
how
I mean,
people work?
why would you go into a movie going, "Gee, I hope it
I
sucks"?
don't know. Could anybody who went
and
into it saying I hope
don't
it
know
sucks
of
post
anybody.
that?
Listen,
I don't know of
anybody who
anybody
wants-
who ever goes.
as a
into movie
comedian, I went either way.
I know tons of people who went into this saying it was going to suck and expecting
Oh,
it
is
to
that
suck,
beer too?
almost wanting it to suck, and I'm like, then why are you going to go?
Thank you, sir.
They sound like horrible people.
Just wait till
I
Solo.
mean, I'm sure they probably love their families or whatever. but
Oh,
they sound
Donald
like
Glover
horrible
as young
people.
Lando.
I know.
Well,
about that.
everybody already hates that movie
They're
already.
called
Oh, I know, right?
Before it knew anything about it, other than the fact they were making a movie about Han Solo, you gotta hate it because
Yep.
it's not Harrison Ford.
I'm not looking forward to that. Actually.
I am because
I'm just
one
going
reason
to skip it though. I'm not
Donald
going to bitch
Glover.
about it online.
I'm a sucker for Lando. I want
do
more
like
Lando.
and
Yes.
I do like Donald Glover.
I like
Because
Alden
that's one
Ehrenreich,
thing, though.
the guy who's playing Han. I loved him in Hail Caesar, the Coen Brothers film.
I never seen him.
And
I've never
recommend
seen
it.
him in anything.
Oh,
either.
okay.
well,
I've liked
Hell Caesar.
that's-
I mean, I'll watch the Han Solo movie
And-
on DVD, but I'm not running out. to
Just
see
this
it.
You
week
say
there
that
was
now.
just this
No,
week
I
there was
won't
this
go
rumor
see it.
going around that
Get to the theater
Disney's
and back
expecting
in
this to
less than 12
bomb
I
hours.
don't think it looks
because-
good or interesting.
Right,
We know nothing about it.
and the star can't
I
act. I'm
don't-
like, well,
There's
I'm
so
discounting
many
this
better
rumor
stories and
automatically
characters they could
because
be doing and skip
I
the most
think he has a
popular
great
guy.
acting career, and there was a
Well,
lot of talk
yeah.
about a supporting actor nod
It's just dumb.
Star
for him
Wars.
for
Yeah.
Hail
I'm gonna eat
Caesar,
up your
2 years
child.
ago or whenever it was.
I'm gonna skip it. I'll see it later.
Who are you hoping for, like for the anthology films?
Fucking Obi-Wan.
Oh,
Obi-Wan.
that would be pretty great.
Obi-Wan solo movie set
Ewan
on
McGregor
Tatooine.
needs another shot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Obi-Wan.
And if they make it, it better be Ewan McGregor, or I will.
Oh,
I don't know about
Yeah.
Obi-Wan in the
Then
cave.
childhood will be ruined because that was the only good thing about the prequels was Ewan McGregor.
I think there's so many opportunities with that because you could he drops off Luke and Leia, and then somebody finds out, and then he has to stop them.
Yeah, there could be a
before,
million
like
stories it could be
there's
about.
so many things you could do.
You could do
in that
any
time.
western on Tatooine, really.
You
You
could,
could,
I would like to see it
you
have
could do
a
like the
Logan
Searcher.
That would never
Lightsabers.
happen.
You can do the Searchers.
The good, the bad, and
with
the Jedi.
Kenobi as
Okay.
John Wayne.
That's the perfect title, except for Hello There.
But they'll just
Hello
call
there,
it. They'll
a
just call
Star
it
Wars
Obi-Wan.
story. Hello There from the High Ground. That's the Kathleen Kennedy. If you're watching, pay me.
Oh my God.
Yeah, we tagged her, so she's watching.
I hope to God that.
Lindsay
That would be
Spinelli
amazing.
asks, do you think Episode 9 will time jump or continue right where the Last Jedi left
Time
off?
jump.
Oh, it's got a
Last,
time
I
jump.
knew the Last Jedi already did a time jump because at the end with Broom Boy, as they call him, they're
Is that
playing
his
out.
character's name?
Well, no, but that's kind of just like the meme kind of
It makes
calling
sense,
him
though,
Broom
yeah.
Boy.
Totally.
But the kids are playing, and they kind of have like a setup of the crate assault. Like they have like little toys.
Right,
They're like,
so it had
taka,
to-
taka, taka, Luke Skywalker, or Jedi Master, and it's like how would they know that?
A little time jump.
Like a little one, like that. I think
Yeah.
they know
A couple of months.
that the battle occurred, and I think it would make
Right.
more sense if they did a time jump because I mean I don't want to see another Star Wars movie directly after. I like that this one did that, but I kind of want to see a little time jump, you know.
Yeah. Episode 9. How do we get these fucking doors open?
Like they should have, you know, meet up with their
Well,
allies.
that's a
now,
spoiler.
you know, I think it'll do a time jump. How long? I don't know. Maybe like
Couple
maybe
years.
Like a couple years.
2 years.
3
3
or
years.
5 maybe.
4 or
Yeah.
5. I would guess.
Long enough that they could realistically get a fight going.
Yeah, that was one thing that surprised me in the movie was in the Force Awakens it seemed like there was a large amount of rebels, and by the time
Yeah.
we get to or resistance in this case, by the
But they
time
were
we get to
being-
this movie, it's like there's like 2 or 3 ships left, and
Yeah,
everyone
but
else
they were
is
being
gone.
supported by a government that was annihilated in the Force
Right,
Awakens.
right.
So
That makes
that
sense.
Would
So
really
that-
dwindle.
that would
it
that
would
would
make a
dwindle
lot
your
of people
numbers.
bail.
But it
wouldn't
seemed
have any
like they had more
reinforcements.
people
Rose had
out
said
there at least.
Rose had said people were bailing once they were on the ship. You
Yeah,
got
she
to
was
think
stopping
that
people from
were just like, you
escaping
know
from
what?
that.
I got places to be, and they got in their X-wing and they fly the fuck out of there.
So then
Like
why,
some miserable
you know,
old fucking Jedi.
let's fill that other plot hole then.
Okay.
Then why, you know, we have this slow motion chase for the entire movie. How come they didn't just send other ships to just annihilate them? Why?
I have a
you
theory
know,
about that.
I was curious. What do you guys think?
I think it might have something to do with. I get a general sense from the First Order of just like a sharply reduced competence. And maybe it's just because I'm biased
a good
because like
point, too.
in the canon, like the Imperial Navy and the Stormtroopers like that, they have like this distinguished like military tradition that's continued from the Republic through into the Empire. But then the First Order is just like these weird child soldiers, and they're just like,
if
what
Hux
this?
is,
How Star Destroyer?
that's a good point, because if Hux, think about it, if Hux is your number one guy,
Right.
he's not the sharpest pencil
Not a
in the
good
drawer.
position to be in.
So if he's
Yeah.
your best guy
Yeah.
for leader,
And same with Kylo. Now that
how
Kylo
many
has taken
assholes do we
Snoke
have
out,
on this ship?
you
Yo!
essentially have this emotional
Nazis
man-child
and Spaceballs.
who's really trying to struggle with who he is and his place and everything. That now he's the new Snoke. Like, holy shit! Like that. That, you know, what was really surprising and it would make sense thereafter.
I was
just
genuinely
as
shocked
surprised
by
that
that
leading
part, by
up
the
to
way.
that they
Yeah.
weren't just like, all right, we could
Genuinely.
just take out these last couple ships and then we're good.
And where are the Knights of Ren? Maybe they'll answer some of
I
all
would-
these backstory questions.
Yeah, that's a whole other
Those
thing
other
that they haven't
ones
even
that-
touched yet.
Yeah, the
took
other
a handful of
students.
students.
Ray took-
Everybody
Ren
was
took
like,
off
they,
with.
they killed all the bad guys. I'm like, there's 6 bad guys who haven't shown up
Yeah,
yet.
but where are they?
And they might have a lot, they might know a bit about Kylo Ren, and Kylo Ren might talk to them about these things. If only there was another movie coming out. If only this wasn't the end. It ruined my
But, you know,
childhood.
it's J.J. Abrams.
I'm
It's
sure-
going to retread Return of the Jedi. You know, it's just going to do another reboot. That's what's going to happen.
Have you seen other J.J. Abrams movies? Because they're really good.
No, I'm just mocking those who.
They're really
Just
good.
mocking those who like to say
you're
it's going to be
mocking,
another
okay.
another
Yeah.
rehash
Yes,
because
and
it's J.J. Abrams.
To,
you
to
know?
be
I was
clear,
so
I'm
deep into
playing.
my mock, I couldn't sense other mocking.
To be clear, I'm playing
meta-mock.
devil's advocate here. These aren't necessarily things that I think. They're just necessarily things that people have said about the movie. So
Well, I
wanted to
already
hear
know
your
you don't
response
think
to
so.
that.
Yeah.
No, I love the movie overall. I definitely there was little things here and there that kind of threw me off or I thought were strange, but overall I really liked the direction that they went with it. Especially the I love that they killed Snoke off.
I loved it too.
That was
I
a
didn't
great
want
I
scene.
was
It's a good
shocked
idea.
and I loved it.
I didn't
it
want
was
a backstory.
great.
I don't need a backstory.
Why? Yeah, that's another thing
see,
too.
so
Like
that's-
the Emperor had no
Oh,
backstory.
the prequels, yeah. That
But
came out
that was
eventually.
16 years
Yeah,
later.
Yeah, exactly.
The Emperor died with no backstory at the end of Return of the Jedi, and we had no idea there were 3 terrible movies. I'm sorry, 3 more movies
Two
coming.
terrible movies,
In
one
fairness-
competent one.
He died,
no.
but at least he
Sid
died at the end of the
sucks, too.
third movie, so it's not just like there's not a whole other
But-
film in
but
which to
here's the
wonder.
thing,
Look at all
like-
these people that were put together and supremely led by this guy who got bitched and is now not
Were
a person.
they? Were they
Put it in
though?
the book.
Were they though? Is that really what happened?
I
Do
suppose
we know
not,
that?
but he was.
And also, in order for Kylo Ren to not, when he said, "You're not Darth Vader," he's like, "You know what? I'm fucking not. I'm not gonna be your bitch." And he's now the fucking Supreme Leader Ren. That's awesome. That was the best thing about the whole freaking movie, in my opinion. I literally sat there like this.
I think the problem though with like fandom like going, we didn't get a backstory for Snoke. It's because you sat around for 2 years watching YouTube videos of here's a Snoke theory, and you
here's
just
the-
got
Oh my
so
God.
all invested in that you said my theory supersedes anything that professional storytellers are going to tell me.
It's Star Wars
I'm
fans'
gonna-
headcanon.
I'm
And,
gonna-
and I've seen that though with like Lost, with Battlestar Galactica, over
With
and
Darth
over and
Plagueis.
over again.
I
with
watched
fandom.
Battlestar Galactica
I
when
love
it was
Battlestar
done,
Galactica. Young
so I didn't have to
Anakin
deal with that.
Oh, good.
But if your whole life is Star Wars, like if that's all you got going, that this movie has genuinely upset you, you're a loser.
Well, I mean, Star Wars is a lot of my life, but it didn't.
Come on,
prove
Why,
my
there's
childhood.
like Star Wars.
There's like
but
3
I have
people
other
watching
shit
this
going
now, and you're
on.
pissing 2 of them off.
Yeah, I wish I could.
You don't know me real well, Ted, but pissing people off is kind of what I do.
Back to Kylo Ren. I mean, Adam Driver just fucking killed it, though.
He's great.
He
I
was
mean,
so
he was
good.
acting so
I think
crazy.
he should
like,
be nominated for Best Supporting Actor.
It's a
I know
Star
that's
Wars
crazy.
movie, dude.
I know
Calm
that's
down.
crazy talk, but
Like-
I think he was that good.
when he shouts about the Falcon, I was
Yeah.
like, what? Where did that come from?
It
The
came
best
from
part.
rage.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's great that
What
he
did
can
he
do.
shout?
He's like, blast that piece of
Piece
junk out of the sky. But
That's
the way
what
he
he
just
shouted.
like
Oh, he was
gets it
so
out.
mad. Like
Yeah.
he legitimately got himself mad to do that scene.
And then the way he was breaking down Rey, I mean, dude, he's just a great villain. And I'm sorry to say
love
it.
him.
Well, not sorry to say
Love
this. I
him.
like him a lot better than Darth Vader.
He's much more complex than Vader.
I don't know if
think.
I love him more than Vader, but he's
I do.
definitely more complex, and he is a great villain.
I-
The people that don't think so are stupid.
And honestly, he has a point of view, and we all know how Jedi love their certain points of view, where he's like, you know what? The Jedi and the Sith and the constant back and forthing have totally fucked this galaxy for how many years now? We need to get rid of all of it.
He thinks
And
he's a good
that's
guy.
fine. And and that's when they are the best villains, when they think that
He
the good
thinks-
But
guys.
does he,
Right.
though?
He does. He
I mean,
absolutely
he admits
thinks
he's a
he's...
straight up, he's a monster, though.
So what? You know who else was a monster? FDR let thousands of sailors die so we could get involved in a war where millions of people died.
Yeah.
Was
But
he a
I-
bad guy?
Churchill let civilians die in
Yeah.
order to keep the secret that we cracked the Germans'
code.
Enigma codes.
Yeah, and then they killed a gay man over it.
Yeah, wow.
Sorry.
They've never chopped up a console with a
This is beyond-
lightsaber.
And then-
Now we're getting into history.
Fucking Winston
That's a
Churchill
whole
with a
other
lightsaber.
podcast.
That's a fun Saturday
That
movie.
Cumberbatch, though, hell of an actor.
I am going to miss the helmet, though.
I am
gotta
going to
say,
miss the
I'm gonna
helmet. I
miss
love the helmet. The helmet is great.
But I love that they made his helmet sound even more distorted.
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
could
so you'd be
barely
like,
understand
Take
it.
that ridiculous thing off. Like, that just made me so happy.
amazing.
Yeah, take that off. And another thing is, I noticed this in the second viewing, rather. He's smashing the helmet. He smashes it a couple times. He looks at it, and it's like mangled into the shape of Vader's. Like,
Yeah, I
mouthpiece,
noticed that
like,
too.
I just thought it was really
And
good.
it looks like that on the floor too, a little bit.
A little bit, but like there's
But when he
it
stops
goes
and
by.
looks at it, it looks like Vader.
He did try spinning too. That was a good trick.
That's a good trick.
I kind of hope in the next film they get a little rivalry. I mean, you saw that a little bit with Hux. He was getting ready to shoot him.
Yeah.
I think that's something they could do.
That was a nice moment.
Well,
Oh,
It was a
I
really
hope
nice moment.
I-
He's just like,
he was gonna kill him.
Okay, never mind.
Oh wait, he's awake.
He's awake.
I'm loyal.
Yeah.
Here's my fan theory. I would really like to see Kylo chop Hux's head right off, because if there's one thing I hate about both movies, that guy's either a terrible actor or a great one, because I really can't fucking stand him.
I can't say I feel the same.
I do not.
I don't
Hux.
like that they were a little inconsistent with his character
I don't even
though.
own the action
In,
figure.
in the first one, he was like this, like pretty much Hitler stand-in,
Mm-hmm.
and in this
Right.
one, he's like the punching bag,
Well,
kind of. You know?
Yeah, it was definitely.
There's something about that,
He was the
though.
butt of every joke.
and honestly, I know this was filmed, all that stuff was filmed before November of last year, but there's something kind of nice to watch a fascist, fair-haired orator get turned into a buffoon.
Yeah, that
And
might have had
so-
some
yeah.
influence
I
on
think
it.
there was a
But I
little
felt
bit
he
of
was
a political.
I felt he
yeah,
was a
even
bit
if,
of a
even though it
doofus.
was shot.
Shot all before the election, and
Right. I think that
but
influence
you
is
can do a lot
definitely
in
in there
editing.
in some.
That's true.
You
Some
can do a-
form.
And also, I felt he was a bit buffoonish. But yeah, that's not a word. Buffoonish in Force Awakens too. I didn't think he was.
Yeah, he wasn't
Intimidating
necessarily
at all.
like super.
I
you know.
thought he
yeah,
was.
that's
intimidating,
exactly.
though.
though.
No,
That
I would have been.
speech, though, it's
I
like
would have been.
nuts.
That would have been me and Timmy goofing off while he was giving that speech, because I was unimpressed with it at all. We would have been like,
Well, if you
and he would have pulled us out of the audience like James Timlin. I'm not a Hux fan. I'm sorry.
I like him.
He didn't ruin my childhood,
wow, that's
but I'm
good.
not a fan.
He ruined Finn's.
He did ruin Finn. See, even more reason to dislike him, because I like that Finn. I root for him.
Finn was my favorite character in The Force Awakens, so I was excited to see more from him here. I don't know if he had a ton to do. He had a little bit of an arc,
Yeah.
but not as much. But I could see why, because they really had to focus on the Rey. and
Right.
Luke-
Speaking of
Luke
which, should we
aspect.
talk about the main character at any point tonight, or
Is
should
she
we
the main
skip
char-
her?
Is she the main
She's
character?
definitely
though?
the main character.
I mean, arguably, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a little biased towards him, but Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, isn't he kind of the main character?
Well,
He's the Skywalker of the
I get-
story.
they probably get co-Billy.
Technically,
They,
yeah.
they spent half the movie on Skype.
Yeah, no, I'm still saying Rey is the protagonist of the film. She's the main character for sure.
Definitely a protagonist.
She's the engine that's
I don't know.
pushing
I
the
feel like-
whole story forward.
And
Yeah.
I think she's
Regardless of how much she has to do on screen, she is the protagonist.
she is a very good actress, but I think, you know, like you said, I don't know, because she doesn't have as much to do as I would want. Like, with Luke, he was just seemed to be more of a traditional protagonist. And I realized they're trying to play with conventions, especially in this movie, a little bit. But she didn't have as much of a compelling story, I thought, as somebody like Kylo.
I thought Luke really phoned it in at the end.
Could have done without the shoulder brush.
So, do we like the new Force powers?
Yeah,
on
why wouldn't
paper
it
it sounds dumb. When I saw it, I liked it. I mean, it makes sense. I don't like the idea of kind of like he just drained his Jedi battery, but they do allude to it. They do allude to it in the beginning because when they first have their Skype call, Kylo even says to Rey, like, the effort should kill you. Be able to come and see me like.
But
this.
also, didn't Yoda drain his Jedi battery in another movie in the past?
But I thought he was kind of just. That felt to me more like just naturally like, all right, I'm done. I'm old enough.
I feel like
I
feel like he forced himself to live that long, waiting for either Luke or Leia to show up on Dagobah.
Well,
I feel like he drained his Force battery living that long.
Don't get me wrong. I don't think it's bad that they killed Luke off. I just
It
thought
felt like
it could
it
have
made
been
sense.
like when I first saw the film,
Not sure
I
it
kind of
did.
felt nothing when he died. But the second time I didn't notice the first time watching it because I was just so hyped. When the twin sons come up, I'm like, oh, that's awesome.
I was
and you know he's gonna be
legitimately
back as a
he's
ghost.
definitely
So
coming
he's
back.
why are you
for
gonna?
sure.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean,
There's our first. There's everybody's first spoiler for the next movie. Luke's coming back.
Is it a spoiler?
Because I mean, they made a pretty wrong gamble on that one.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, that's
Seriously.
rough.
And that's another thing. How do you think they're gonna write that off? Do you think they're gonna do it in a crawl or off screen or the time gap?
I really hope that that's not the route they go, but I mean, it makes sense if they do that. Where Leia has passed away, and we as we're scrolling.
You know
along,
what though? I think
and it's like,
I
I really hope not.
I'd see
but
more like a
there's-
shot of like movie starts somewhere, but like you see somebody more at a memorial or something. I just feel like that'd be more tasteful than just being like in the crawl.
Yes.
General Organa has died or something like. I feel like it's a
Or
little bit more tasteful.
If they even acknowledge it at all, like Tarkin
Would
was
they
in
have
Rogue
to?
One.
So did you feel it was tasteful that they left her in, or did you feel like
I-
they had
I-
no
yeah.
balls to?
No,
to
I
actually-
think
They
I
could
think
take
if they had
anything.
gone back and changed the movie that was finished to change it, I think that would have been extremely disrespectful of her as an actress. and a
That's
Last
person.
performance. You
That's
need to have
fair.
it.
That was it. That
And
was her.
structurally, it would totally destroy the movie too.
Yeah.
Because that whole subplot is her instructing or mentoring Poe to not be just the hotshot pilot, but to be a real leader. And until literally it's hammers you over the head with, "Why are you looking at me? Follow him." At the end there.
I got to
So-
talk to J.J. Abrams for a moment. If the next movie would start with Poe doing a eulogy for Leia, we would all enjoy that.
Yes.
Thank you,
that
Mr.
would be
Abrams.
nice.
Seconded.
The Knights of Ren better show up.
At the
And
funeral.
the Knights of Ren better
Not
show
at the
up.
funeral, but
No.
But
Well,
at
they
some
might
point, the
be
Knights
there
of Ren better
hiding.
show
You
up.
never
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And no bald Kylo Ren. I don't know if any of you saw that concept art, but
Oh yeah.
the bald Kylo Ren.
I don't think
Look
Adam Driver
new
could
metal
pull
lead
off
vocalist.
balls.
I don't want to see that.
His
You
in my
don't
Star
have a
Wars.
head like that and a nose
His
like
head's
that
small
to shave
enough.
your head. If
His
he ever
head is
goes
small
bald,
enough on that body to begin with. You don't need to decrease it by getting.
I heard
Those freaking
I don't know
memes
what's
of
true,
him with
but
the
he grew the
giant
long hair
breasts.
because his ears were so big. I mean, that definitely has to be a room.
Well, have you seen his Marines photo?
Oh yeah, he's
It's like he's.
complete goofball.
They're like he doesn't need to be a pilot. He could just fly away now.
But the whole force projection
Yes.
thing, it's not a new force power.
Not at all.
It's in
It's
Rebels.
actually in one of the old
It is
Dark
in the
Horse
old
Dark
books.
Empire comics.
That's true.
I'm gonna be the nerd about that.
Which a lot of their inspiration seems
does
they,
that
they
mean the
take
power's
little
not
bits and
good?
pieces from
No,
that
it is
kind of
not.
stuff.
And I'm fine with that.
Which is good.
It's a good smorgasbord of ideas.
I love you.
Granted, and I don't want to get into the whole they made legends non-canon argument again because I'm perfectly fine with them doing that. That's always was the understanding that when they first started doing books and comics that anytime Lucasfilm wanted to, they could wipe it all away in favor of new films. So,
Right.
But to still go back to that material and say, this was a good idea. Let's
Cherry
use
pick
this and try to do something new and different. I mean, they brought back Thrawn, and Timothy
My
Zahn
third favorite
is
Star Wars character.
again writing the books for him, He was
great.
involved
Did
with
you
the
read the
writing.
book?
I haven't read it yet.
It's great. You should read it.
I know.
I got it from this thing called the library.
Wow.
His
I-
Rebels appearance is great too.
Yeah,
I haven't
Timothy
gotten to
Zahn
that
helped
season yet.
write. Was kind of like
Don't
saw
spoil
those
it, I haven't
scripts and was
gotten
like,
He's still blue.
You
gave
see-
some
you
feedback.
He's still blue? Are his eyes still red?
Yes.
Does he still wear a white suit?
Having
gosh,
having read the old books, I love the voice they chose for him too. I thought it really okay, that's how I picture Thrawn
See,
talking.
If I
The
could have had
cadence and everything.
a fan realization come through for these movies that are happening now, like my dream would have been like the Thrawn trilogy or Aftermath being the movies they made.
Right.
Only they made them 20 years
Yeah.
ago.
Well, yeah,
I don't want that
everybody
anymore.
was still of age.
You
at
weren't
that
getting
point,
Wedge
yeah.
back though.
No.
Dennis Lawson wasn't coming back.
I would kill to
What's
see
up
Wedge
with him?
back.
I don't know.
Wedge
Like
should
he's
come back.
busy.
He should have gotten better.
Like he was he's the guy.
he's waiting for
Wedge Antilles was like, nah.
He's waiting for that local Heroes sequel to come about.
Oh, because he had shit to do.
He's out
He should
bullseye.
have got a medal.
What's his name?
He's
What's the
out
actor's
bullseye
name?
and
Dennis
Wombat in a
Lawson.
T16. It's not that fucking.
Oh,
hard.
by the way, I am intentionally cursing less tonight because my mother yelled at me last time. So this is less cursing than I would do.
Well, that's very
Yeah,
it's very nice of you.
I'm swearing a bunch. Sorry,
I've turned it down.
Yeah.
This is me tuning it down too. I'm cursing less than normal.
Jacqueline Purdy says, "You guys are
Hey, Jackie.
a bunch of grown kids, but I find it amusing." So, thanks.
Jackie, your show at the bog is
Hey, we're not all
canceled.
grown.
Your bog show is canceled, Jackie.
I'm permanently a 12-year-old
I'm
kid.
kidding.
I
It's
don't-
not. It's not
I'm just
canceled.
not gonna get all Michael Jackson about it.
John Paul Lona says Leia could die almost off screen as a hologram the way she was introduced to Luke. That's an
Ooh,
interesting.
I like that. That's a good
That's
thought.
that's a good concept. I like that.
I dig that. And they could use old footage to make the holograms.
And he brings up a good point too. Luke and Leia force Skyped in The Empire Strikes
Empire.
Back.
They did.
So there is it's just shot differently.
And Luke and
I think
Vader.
that was what
And
threw
Luke
people
and
off
Vader
is
did
that
it
it
too.
was different.
And Jedi though.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we never got the idea that they were actually seeing each
I don't
other.
know that they were at that point, but it's possible that Luke.
But Kylo
And Snoke
and Rey
pushed the
definitely
power.
are because she's like, hey, can you put a shirt on?
But it wasn't.
And that
Well, and they said
that's
they
the
did
reason
that.
Yeah,
That's the only
exactly,
reason
yeah.
he had his shirt off
Oh,
was to
I didn't know that.
let you know that
that they could
were
see
were-
each other.
Yeah.
But it
I
is
know.
possible,
It's
like,
interesting.
that the power evolved and Snoke pushed that forward into the fact that they could see each other.
And he died
Right.
like a punk.
Good.
Good. I'm glad.
Because
I'm
I
glad he
like
died
the
like
other
a punk.
bad guy better.
Yeah, me too.
And you know what? The
Super
Imperial Guard actually did something this time.
Yes.
They
That's-
did.
Yeah,
that
they
was
did.
great.
Like holy shit!
When are we going to get Royal Guard backstory, Kathleen Kennedy?
The day they get
What up?
The
Where
day
did
they
he
get
get the
helmets with
energy
eye
with? I need
slits.
to know the whole story behind.
No,
the
I mean
energy
from
with.
Jedi. I want to know about those guys.
those guys. Okay, that just stood there the entire time. and
Yes.
Told him to leave.
Absolutely.
That's so
Didn't
important.
leave
He
us.
did tell
Until
them-
the Emperor's greatest enemy comes into his throne room and he goes, you guys can go now.
Right.
But
Yeah,
you know, nothing
think they would've at
illogical
least
has
listened
ever
at the
happened
door.
in Star Wars before.
Palpatine deserved it at that point.
Yeah, really. Two guys with pikes would have really
I
helped.
was hoping he'd get
Right there at
killed
the
in
end.
the prequels, even though I knew he couldn't. I wish this attempt on your life left you dead, not deformed. Sorry.
So the other thing we want to get to, did we like the new character Rose?
No problem with her.
She
I'm
was okay.
indifferent.
Yeah. She was
Like, it's-
different.
She was there.
I like
fine.
her, I thought her
Um,
sister did something more important in the plot of the film, but
Right.
Yeah, her
I had
sister
no
was
problem with
definitely
her.
better. But she did give Finn someone to talk to, which I think was really her point of being
speaking
there.
of which,
Right.
that
'Cause-
kiss at the end was that
Yeah,
the
well,
one-sided?
I think
Was
no,
that
I think
one-sided?
that was
good, thank you.
I think it was.
there's-
I
I'm
thought
not
it was
at
kind
that
of
the last 5
one-sided.
years.
On
I think he's given up his Ray crush.
No, I don't think so. Because
You don't think so?
I think it's more so one-sided.
Do you think?
You know, I
do
thought
you
that
think he's
too
gonna
because
do
of the
like a
way.
little side action.
No, I just think that Rose spent the whole movie. Well, at least the beginning when you first introduced to her, she's like idolizing Finn.
Yeah.
And that's the
But I
only
think
reason
if
saves
she
him.
had met Poe, she would have done the exact same thing. I don't think it was. He was just the rebel
To
hero
an extent,
that she met.
that's possible, but then
Because
by
she's
the time,
not hanging out on the bridge with Poe and Leia. She's down in engineering.
Right. I think she has more of an
Stopping
interest
people
up
from
by the end,
escaping the
obviously,
ship.
because she tries to save his life, and then
Failure.
What I thought,
Same.
but
Same.
I thought that too, because she kisses him and he almost reacts like, "Why did you do that?" Like, and I don't know if that was because he's not used to that because he's been a stormtrooper and he doesn't really
That's a
have
good point.
romantic relationships, or was it that he really doesn't care about her that way and he feels more towards Rey because he's so concerned about where she is the entire movie? So that that could go either way, and I think that's open. Which actually leads me to the other thing I wanted to talk about is, do you like the way that these movies are being written and produced? Because it's interesting in the fact that, whereas, yes, the other movies weren't written so in advance, but at least Lucas had an idea of where he was going and that
At the
kind of
beginning,
thing.
he didn't.
At the beginning, he didn't, which is
Lucas
clear.
always wanted Leia to be.
Yeah,
Luke. Luke is a byproduct. He was never going to exist.
Right.
The studio said it's got to be a dude.
It's got to be a guy,
Yeah.
right? And there's definitely hints of things changing, and of course, he has different directors and come in. Obviously, Kirshner famously changed certain things in Empire that made it a better movie and that sort of thing. But it's
Glad
so
Rian
weird to
Johnson
me
didn't do
that
that.
these movies are being cranked out within a 2-year time span, with different writers, different directors, and that this obviously is very much. I don't want to go where JJ is going. I'm purposely going to do this differently. Now we have JJ coming back for the next one. Do we think that's actually good for the franchise, or is that not
Yes,
really
I
a
do.
great
Because
Anybody
what
but
was
Lucas.
better? I have a reference you'll totally get.
Or Trevor
I think
Rowe.
it's a good thing because what was better, the Hulk and Spider-Man's Monster of the Month, or 70s, 80s, 90s when they became truly serialized stories?
Okay.
Which did you prefer?
Well, obviously it depends. There's certain. Now you're getting real geeky on me.
Yeah.
So, yeah no,
Lost
I just lost the other three.
Lost
Yeah,
it
yeah,
completely.
You guys can go. Rich and I are going to
Dude,
talk now.
Dude, I
Print out
have
paper.
2 bookshelves full of Marvel
Yeah.
Masterpieces.
Yeah, no, he's with us. He's with us on this.
You guys get
It depends, because
Touching.
if you look at the '90s, for
Let's go play with our
example,
fidget
most of the,
spinners. Not saying it was
the
great.
serialized
Toys.
storytelling was not
Yes.
wonderful. I liked some of it, but
Poor
yeah.
Todd McFarlane thought he
Whereas,
could write.
yeah, I think the
Can't.
Monster of the Week
Can't
kind
draw
of
that
thing
much
does
either.
get old after a while.
I'm not a
So
You're allowed to be wrong. Sorry, we stopped listening to you. What?
you keep starting second and third
Yeah,
I know,
conversations,
no, but
which
I
is
really-
what you're
I
not
really-
supposed to do on a podcast, by the way.
I don't care. But I am interested in what you just said, how you finished up the 90s not so great serialized
Well,
stuff.
yeah. So, overall, we had to suffer through the Clone Saga because a couple of people said that we have to,
Right, that's true.
and it ended up being awful. And it really I didn't read Spider-Man for probably a decade after that.
Different
I didn't really
clones.
pick it back up again for a
Clone Saga.
long time.
I'll be
Not the
honest,
cartoon.
I haven't read
That was good.
Spider-Man since they did,
Since he had a hot dog on the roof with Loki. Done.
since
Done.
they dissolved the marriage.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I went a
I
little
was a-
farther than that.
I was offended because I was engaged at the time, getting ready to get married, and they're like, "Oh, people don't want to read about married heroes," and I'm like, "Because they can't relate." And I'm like, "I'm about
No,
to get
Joe
married."
Quesada didn't.
I-
Right.
Joe Quesada
I hope
didn't want to
you're-
read
yeah.
that. That was
I
about
hope
it.
Quesada's wife slapped him for that. I was like, "I'm married
Like, he
to
was
you."
the only one into that whole we're just gonna just hey, when you're a married man, I would say Spider-Man, it's like kind of perpetually stuck at 33,
Yeah.
and your elderly aunt is getting sick and gonna die. Are you gonna trade your supermodel wife in to keep
never
a
made
person
never
who
made
is
any
gonna
sense
be
to me.
going out anyway around? Like it was, and then he legitimately sat on a rooftop and had hot dogs
Yeah.
with Loki.
Oh, I missed
And
that.
that was, I made it past the marriage.
All right,
Oh,
Going
my
away.
let's
head.
get
Over
let's
my
get
head
out
on
of
this
comics.
one
Let's get
here.
back to
Okay,
Star
yeah,
Wars.
yeah, yeah. Sorry.
But that happened.
Okay.
That's a real.
Jesus.
That's a real thing.
So, point being, do you think
Yes.
this is a good way to do it?
It's a way to do it. Is it good or not? I'm not quite so sure yet. We'll see. I guess the proof really is when we get to the end of this current trilogy.
Yeah.
If
Okay.
Abrams can bring it back around. We had Colin Trevorrow working on an idea, and then Book of Henry came out, and that was a colossal piece of shit film. And I'm sure that had nothing to do with Kathleen Kennedy letting him go.
Right.
Although it's interesting to see how many directors kind of go through the Lucasfilm mill now. who don't make it all the way through. You've got Lord Miller with the Han Solo movie.
Right, who ended up getting dropped.
Yeah. What's his face on Rogue One? They did a lot of reshoots that he
No,
wasn't
see,
in charge of.
I hear the
for the
only
third
real
act.
reshoot was they added the Vader scene.
That's
what I've heard.
They changed a lot of the
reshot
end.
a lot and restructured a lot of the third act.
Okay.
So
Yeah, there was that because there was some stuff in the trailer that never made it in the movie.
When the,
Yeah.
the TIE fighter
Yeah, the
comes
TIE fighter
up,
comes
in
up.
front of me, I
All
was
the
so
coolest
like,
places.
Wait, yeah,
I
I
left the movie like, wait, where
Running
was
across
the?
the
I was
beach.
waiting for that to happen, and I
Exactly.
left the movie. I was like,
remember,
There was
Josh
no TIE
Trank
fighter.
was supposed to be doing a Boba Fett film for a while.
there needs to
and
be
then
no
Fantastic
Boba Fett film.
He's gonna be the
ever.
villain in
Four
Han Solo.
tanked.
Call it
So
now.
That doesn't even make sense.
I know, but call it now because they got to do that. That's what they have to do. I mean, I'm not saying that's
No
what I
Vader
want.
movie,
Right.
But
no
they're gonna do
Boba
that.
Fett movie.
IG-88 movie.
IG-88 movie would be awesome.
Shadows
of the
Like,
Empire
completely
movie.
bad.
no thanks.
With Han and Carbonite as the MacGuffin.
I think they
Yep.
should do just a bounty hunter movie.
All the bounty hunters, they
Bosk,
had their own books
absolutely.
and stuff.
As
We
long
should-
as Boba Fett is I'm saying it, everybody. He's a cool aesthetic. He does nothing. He's the worst
Right.
fucking
Cad Bane.
character.
Give us some Cad Bane.
I would. A Cad
Yeah,
Bane
yeah.
movie would be awesome. These are all we're talking about characters that have never been in a movie now. So,
that nobody but us really cares.
and we're
about.
apparently the answer to me, are we going to talk about Ray? Question is no.
No, we're gonna talk about a Bosk trilogy.
A boss trip. Why don't
All
know about
in,
a trilogy?
all in the
but
original Trandoshan.
That would be great.
With
With
just
subtitles.
subtitles?
Oh my god.
We're kidding.
Dengar origin story.
Yes.
Well, Ray's one of the
He
only
sucks,
ones
too.
that actually ends up kind of doing what you expect her to do in this movie, whereas the
True.
other ones kind of do different things. So maybe that's why she's not.
I
as-
also think here's a huge spoiler. I also think a lot of people didn't realize she stole those books.
right.
Because
Oh,
they're like,
yeah.
why would
Yeah, I
Yoda
caught
do
that.
that?
I
And I'm
caught
like,
that
because
too.
Yoda's a Force ghost and he knew the books were in the Millennium Falcon.
Yeah.
And he didn't care about the stupid fucking tree.
How about him being a puppet again? That was fucking.
That was
Awesome.
amazing.
And he was
Yes.
funny
Great.
again.
And
Yes.
he was-
And he didn't
and people
over-
were like, why was he funny? I'm like, because he was always funny
And
until the prequels
Why?
ruined him.
And they didn't ruin him with over Yoda-isms like in the prequels, where every single sentence he said had any
Inverted.
bad words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when he calls him young Skywalker,
Oh,
my
you
God.
gotta make you smile.
Oh,
Like
God,
the whole
great.
scene.
And Yoda even being in there was a big surprise to me.
I was totally
That was
surprised.
kind of spoiled because I just had started following Frank Oz on Twitter, and he
Oh.
starts posting like these pictures from the premiere the Saturday before the movie came out.
Oh, so like,
And-
why else would he
but
be?
he
in
might
it?
and I'm
not,
sitting there
but
going,
he could've
"Oh,
been there.
because he's
Frank
Yoda's
Oz.
in this."
He could have been there just 'cause he- But this was me. You were my girlfriend in the first time I watched it when Yoda came on the screen. And she's like, why are you hitting me? She's like, I don't care.
And you
No,
broke
she
up with her
loves-
at that moment.
No, she loves
How do you
Yoda.
feel about
She
him
loves
being able to
Yoda
summon
and
lightning?
Chewie and Space Bears.
Okay.
And if you don't know what Space Bears are, why are you watching this podcast?
Exactly. Lenice again says Benicio del Toro is so unintelligible. So why the heck did they give him a stutter?
I just think he
I was
wanted
wondering.
to-
I think
he
he added
wanted-
that
yeah, he
himself.
wanted
I
to do that.
absolutely
He definitely did that.
That was
was
his
Benicio.
choice.
Yeah.
You know the
They
whole
did not write that.
Yeah.
Usual Suspects, that whole scene of the lineup, they never got a finished take as scripted because he wouldn't do it and he kept farting. And that's why they were all laughing. And he did it on purpose because he didn't like how the script went. I think Benicio added his own stutter because he's just that weird.
He must
and I'm
have.
so glad he was not Darth Maul like he was supposed to be.
What?
He was supposed to be Darth Maul and he dropped out when they found out they cut the
Oh
characters.
yes, yes. In the
dialogue.
original, yeah, not in this movie.
Oh,
No,
so-
no,
I thought you meant
Yeah.
this movie. I was like,
in,
we saw.
in The Phantom Menace, he was the original person cast before Ray Park. Benicio del Toro
Yes.
was cast to
I'm
play
glad
Darth
he
Maul.
wasn't.
Yeah, that was-
Because
that
why
was-
would you waste Benicio del Toro on a guy who
That's
had two lines?
exactly what Benicio del Toro thought.
Do you think he'll be back though, DJ?
Maul? DJ?
DJ?
Yes.
Because I really liked his character.
I think he'll be back.
Honestly,
everything.
I
in
like the
casino.
character and everything, and the fact that he's totally amoral. He is the anti-Han, and that
It's
way
like
he's like, nope,
it's
I got
like
my
he's-
cash, I'm out.
It's like he's
Right.
the Lando character.
Which
Oh, my
apparently,
goodness.
Well, even
in the
Lando had
original-
honorable motivation.
in the original script, it was going to be Lando, and then they're like, "Why would Lando betray everybody
No.
again?"
Lando
Yeah.
should have been the real codebreaker. I think that would have been a perfect way to
yeah.
cameo
If he was
him.
just standing there for 2
Because-
seconds, that
Well,
would have been
well,
great.
no, because
gamble
no,
his ass
well, no,
off.
I think if they
Drinking
were going to
Colt
bring
45.
Lando back in this new trilogy, no.
D. Williams.
No.
Hitting on women. Must have
Yeah,
had
would
too
you
much of
rather
that
see
Colt
that, or would you
45.
rather see a half-dead Billy
That's
D.
Chris
Williams
Rock,
do some
everybody. If you
action
haven't
movie
seen
shit?
that, watch
What would you rather
immediately.
see? Him for like
I
him womanizing?
was doing Chris Rock. I stopped
Oh.
listening to you. Sorry.
I was
No,
trying to be serious. God,
I'm
that
with
he
you
would
though.
have been.
He could have
because he's
stood there
too
and looked
old.
cool at a table.
Mm-hmm.
Like he could have done that for days.
If he blew on his fingers,
Yep.
if Billy D. Williams went, I would have died. It would have been the greatest thing ever.
You would have fangirled.
I would have
Yeah.
fainted.
Oh, so you agree?
No, I
I-
totally agree. I think
Yeah.
that would have been great.
Because,
It
like I
doesn't
said,
mean that every time I hear the words Billy D. Williams, I start reciting Chris Rock.
oh, I'm not
I
familiar with Chris
cannot
Rock
help
myself.
it. Oh, Bring the Pain, 1994. It is the most
It just made
greatest
sense to me
stand-up ever.
because if I want to see him in this trilogy, I mean, he was a huge important part of the original trilogy, and they're kind of just
like. But, that,
Where-
but
where
it's
is
not
he?
over. You don't know that. He
At
might
the
be
same
in the
time,
next
though-
movie.
Well, I hope he is.
At the
I
same
want
time,
that.
do we start
do you
suffering
need
from small
everything
galaxy
in
syndrome?
this movie?
Right.
It's
We're
all
well
gotta be
past
in this
that,
movie.
I
You can't
think.
save it for the next
It's like
one.
once again the people on the
You
sides
guys thought it
of
would make
this
sense.
good and evil
Sound like a
struggle are fucking
millennial.
blood relatives.
Prequels fan.
Well, I think that's also part
Oh,
of
I
the
wonder
point.
why.
I don't
Of
know,
this
Connor.
movie,
I
though,
don't know why you
that
sound like that.
The bloodlines don't
Dare you be born
always
in me.
matter because you have somebody like Rose. You have Kylo saying, no, it's all got to go. You have Rey, whose parents are nobodies, and we just actually, one of my writers at Film Buff just did a piece on that. We called Contemplating Kylo. Basically, from his point of view, why the Star Wars saga, the Skywalker saga, is essentially shifting, and it's no longer just about prophesized people coming and rising forward, but anybody can come forward and be a hero.
Right. And I think that's one of the main purposes of this trilogy. Is like, well, at least this movie specifically.
Yeah, it's definitely refreshing to see like we're moving away from just the same clique.
Yes.
Like, hey,
Yeah. But the counter to that is, as they keep doing more Star Wars films, can we move further and further away from this 50, 60-year period of time that, from Phantom Menace through to whatever Episode 9 is going to
Well, they
be?
said this
you
is
talking-
the end of the Skywalker
Yeah.
saga.
But at the same,
So are we gonna
if we
jump
suddenly
forward
go,
then?
jump forward
give me a
200 years to
Revan movie.
something,
give me a
Something-
Revan movie. Oh my god.
how
Back with
how
maybe
TV
something that's
series.
happening parallel.
Flesh it
in
out
how
the same
far
Yeah.
time
removed,
frame.
or how far removed from these events
Why does any of that matter?
by time or by distance, without the audience going, wait, I have nothing here to kind of connect it to what I already know about Star Wars, unless you have Lando showing up over here suddenly over,
Right.
I
for
don't-
this other trilogy.
'Cause
of
I'm
Being
Star
so
Wars.
immersed in it my whole life, that doesn't matter to me.
I know,
If they
well-
have blasters and maybe there's a lightsaber laying on a table, I'm
That's enough.
fine.
That's enough.
Oh no, that's
Like,
perfectly
I
fair.
don't need it to be
But-
about Jedis every time.
Neither do I. But your average moviegoer isn't like some of
But I
us
think
fans
that- I think
or the
that-
people. I'm not a gamer, so I never got into Knights of the Old Republic. God bless the fans who love it. But I don't have that kind of interest in
left.
seeing films based on Knights of the Old Republic.
I like Knights of the Republic. And
But I'm not saying. But you might not.
I don't even
but-
want to
but
see
you-
them as movies.
But you might not hate it.
I might not, but it's
It
not
could
the
be
first
something-
thing I would be
I'm
interested
sure
in. seeing.
90% of the movie fans have no interest in the Thrawn movie that Connor and I are dying to happen. Like, if they could make any one movie and then it be over, I would want it to be Thrawn.
If he doesn't die in Rebels.
And also, I'm also
Right.
I don't think.
Yeah, I don't think they're
Well,
gonna.
if he doesn't die in Rebels, then like you said earlier, it's probably.
But also,
doesn't
they've had
happen.
at least
the
one
Thrawn
more
movie
book
doesn't
from
need to
Zahn
happen
coming out,
after
so.
the events of Rebels. It could happen before. They could make a movie of the book Thrawn, and it would be great. And that all happens before Rebels.
I haven't read it.
It's good. You guys really need to go get. You need to literally
It's
immediately.
sitting on my
leave here.
shelf.
And
What is it?
Signed
Is it-
by Zahn.
Is that like the Rise of Thrawn? Is that 'cause-
It's,
Yeah.
It's all the Thrawn trilogy.
I know
is
there's like the
gone.
older ones.
It's not
Yeah,
canon.
that's all
Right.
of it.
They
It's
rebooted
you can never
it.
read it again.
Yeah, no.
Oh, you can read
Yes,
it.
I
Burn
can.
all your
Legends,
copies.
Good.
Legends is gone.
I'm making a point.
My first
here.
my first editions are all signed.
The
I'm not
new,
burning
the
them.
new. I'm not saying that's. I'm just saying as far as
I'm
canon
dropping
goes.
Kathleen will
What
come to
Disney's
your
gonna
house.
Yes.
The new Thrawn book is the origin story of Thrawn.
Yeah.
From there's a
Like
little
going up
bit
through
that
the
happens
academy and
off screen with. I'm not going to say because you guys haven't read the book, but basically it's how Thrawn finds the Empire, how he becomes part of the Empire, and how he ascends to be the head of the Empire. You all both knew that happened, so.
Yeah.
All right. So to start wrapping up, where do we want the next movie to go? What are some things you want to see? What are
Thrawn.
some things?
I want to see Thrawn.
all I can think of that is
Knights of
Thrawn
Ren.
now. He's just the best.
Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
I
Leia
want to see
eulogy.
the Knights of Ren. Leia eulogy as we've our open letter to
J.J.
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
That would be
Poe.
great.
Poe has to read it.
And if you don't do it, it's going to ruin.
My childhood, and Poe better have a beard too.
That would be badass.
We
Like
didn't
how
really
Kylo
talk
Ren-
Like
about.
Han has a beard in the video
We
game.
didn't really talk about Poe.
My favorite.
I love Poe.
Which is it.
We talked about
what
it a
an,
little.
what an interesting though angle with that to just suddenly because he's more or less the hero in the first movie, in a lot of ways, not the main hero but a hero, and then in this one it's just like he's a total fuck up and an asshole the entire time.
But he was that in the first movie too.
But he's-
He was a hotshot. It's
but
just.
but it worked out for him.
right. And
in
this
this
one,
movie,
you
it did
said
not
it
work
yourself
out
at
for
the
him at all.
beginning of this show.
But why didn't
This
Lord
movie
Dern
is
tell
about
the plan?
failure.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which but an interesting way to go with that. Did you feel like the whole because there was obviously a feminism undertone there?
I didn't get that at all.
You have the females are in charge on the ship, and he's Mr. No, we're gonna do it my way. We're gonna do it the old Han Solo way where we just do what we want and it works out at the end. And then they're like no, and then it ends up.
I
not
know
working
nobody's
out for
going to
them.
believe this, but the way I look at the world, very much in the Kurt Vonnegut humanist way,
Yeah.
I didn't notice.
See,
I did
I
not
go to
notice that
Star
all the
Wars to
women were in
escape the
charge.
world.
I-
I don't want
Yeah,
the
like,
real
I
world to
didn't-
sleep
it-
into my Star Wars.
If that's
the thing,
feminist,
that's the
so
thing,
what?
But those,
Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I'm not, and I'm
it
saying, I'm not
didn't
saying it's a
even
bad
dawn
thing.
on me.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just
Well,
saying that
I'm
I
sure
think it's,
people will after
I'm-
watching this podcast.
I'm
No, I've
sure
seen
it's
some
there
people
though.
complain about it.
I'm sure that it was put in on purpose. I can't imagine that they didn't say, oh well, we're gonna put
I'm sure
this
it was
woman
put in there
charge.
on
Why didn't
purpose
Laura
too. I'm
Dern
just
tell him the
saying,
plan?
for me, it fell on deaf ears. I
Right.
didn't even. It didn't even dawn on me.
That's my one gripe.
That he was.
Why?
What?
Because when
Why didn't Laura Dern just tell him the plan?
I didn't
That's-
understand that either.
That's
Is
a
it
good-
because they're both hot-headed and they both cause
And I-
deaths of
and I-
hundreds of people because they
Plot.
don't want to
Yeah.
just
Plot.
because
Oh my
plot.
god, that whole thing.
That is the only gripe I
Yeah,
have with
why
this movie is
didn't-
why
didn't
couldn't
she tell
Admiral
him?
Holdo just tell Poe, all right, no, calm down. We're
Which
going to
the-
Crete.
The
We're
argument
going to
I've heard
Crete.
against that is that, well, in a military structure, just because he's lower, he wouldn't, he doesn't. She doesn't have to tell him shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get that,
Yeah, but
but this is not really a traditional military. This is a small resistance.
There's
you know,
But
literally-
they do kind of hammer the military point home by giving him a demotion. Like,
Yeah,
since when,
Yeah.
that's true.
like the rebellion,
Yeah, you
they
never
just
hear
kinda-
that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
that
just kind of
was-
handed out ranks like candy. It was like, you're
That's
a really
just-
good pilot. Be a
that was just
commander.
kind of Leia being like asshole Leia as she tends to be. Like she was just
Fine.
She
you
wanted to
know,
give-
yeah.
give-
She just
get
wanted
it
to
to
give
him.
him a dig.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't
Well-
think had she not been blown up, I don't think he really would have been demoted. That was just Leia loves her digs, and I think that was one of them.
Yeah,
Let me
but I
ask you
mean,
this,
maybe that's just Leia aging.
Um,
Like, she call him a bantha fucker or something.
But at that time,
Her humor
too,
has evolved. Think about it.
the command, Holdo and the rest of them, don't know about the tracker. They just know that somehow the Imperials know that they're being, to track
Yeah,
them.
they're being tracked. Right.
So she's holding her cards close to her vest anyways because maybe Poe isn't a spy, but he might accidentally talk to somebody else who is the Imperial, who might be
Right.
this possible Imperial mole relaying back all this information.
Oh, no,
So, it's a very, security idea.
loose lit
Question
ships.
answered, buddy. Question answered.
There you go. I mean,
Alright.
like I said, these are all minor. I mean, that's my only really one that's like.
No, yours was really not minor. Actually,
No, it's
yours
well,
was
no,
a really good question.
Lando is the co.
No, I meant just the Holdo.
Well, I'm
thing
saying
was
my
not
main
minor.
issues
Your
with
other
the film are
stuff was
pretty
trivial.
nitpicky. Yes, I know this.
I'm kidding, man.
As Star Wars fans, we have to be nitpicky.
And
That's what
of
we
course,
do.
why else are we
That is
here?
what we do.
Yeah.
That
And
is the whole point of it.
I want to ask a question here too.
Sure.
After Holdo does, I guess what we're all going to refer to as the Holdo maneuver now.
Yeah.
The anime
When-
scene.
the whole
when-
Some kind of sex thing?
yeah.
It's Tatooine steamer.
Thank you. Mom.
Sorry. Sorry, Mrs. This guy's mom.
Riedmiller. Her name is, well, her name's
But
Marianne. She's gonna kill me for
when
talking
obviously
about
when the whole theater goes dead silent. I saw the movie
Loved it.
4 times in the first week it was out. 3 out of those 4 times, you could hear a pin drop, except for one person going, "Oh shit!"
At my showing, that was me.
Okay. And the other time was, "Oh my god!" It was pretty much for everybody else.
Yeah,
I loved
absolutely.
it. Apparently,
Okay,
people
great.
thought the movie was broken.
Yeah,
People
there's
are.
signs.
Here's one of the main problems.
Oh no,
with,
an artistic
with-
choice. It must be bad.
Well, I was just
The
going to
movie
say,
is not broken.
here's my point about like a lot of people that hate it, because this was my original thought. No, I'm going somewhere, Connor. This was my original thought, and then I backed down and put more thought into why people hating it. And if you read my post like Rich does, I came back to my original thought, and them thinking the movie was broken. People are stupid.
Yes.
All of you.
Except you, obviously.
Except the people that liked it. You're great and intelligent, handsome, and attractive people.
And that's true.
All right. So where
Sorry,
do
Ted.
you want the trilogy to go? Where do you
10
want it
minutes
to
later,
end? What do you want to see in the third one?
Oh God, you know, I wouldn't even want to. I wouldn't even want to speculate. Like, what would? I don't know. No more Jedi ever. Just let Force users do what they do. I guess rebuild the Republic maybe somehow if they go back to Coruscant, which wasn't involved in this Republic.
Maybe they
Like
could
they
do, an
rebooted the whole
American
Republic. Yeah, like the New Republic just moved entirely to new planets, which were then all destroyed. So maybe
Again.
like try and set up some kind of vaguely benevolent galactic government. Try to keep the fascist imagery to a minimum.
Why do we need a galactic government? That's my question.
That'd be the Wild West in space. Wild West in space.
No, it's all on planets.
I mean, all the planets are like the size of a city anyway. So
The middle of the Atlantic Ocean by Africa is still awful, and that's here on our planet. Like, I don't understand why a galactic government needs to exist.
because the prequels exist.
That's debatable. Sometimes I think I'm going to wake up and that's all not going to have been real.
But
You need a galactic government because the Reapers are coming.
I'm with Ted on this one. I don't even know where to begin to speculate. I kind of don't want to.
I
I think that's
Yeah.
what a lot of ruined The Last Jedi for a
Yeah.
lot of people complaining about it is that they
That's a
got
fair point.
so caught up in their headcanon of Snoke needs to be some big bad from back in
gonna
the
be
day,
Ezra
and
Bridger.
Rey needs to be an Obi-Wan or Solo or Skywalker because this
Snoke is
universe
Porkins.
needs to be really small.
Porkins. Somebody made a meme that he was the kid from the Youngling scene. And it showed where the sword was and where the thing on that kid's head was. And it was great.
There was a T-shirt I saw a couple weeks ago, and I really wish I had bought it right before the movie came out. Just said, "Your Snoke theory sucks."
There's a picture of Rian Johnson holding the sticker that says "Your Snoke theory
No,
sucks."
the other one. Did you see the other one? The stormtrooper that banged his head?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
He was the librarian from Revenge of the Sith and Attack of the Clones. That old lady, I saw one that was that.
Jocasta knew.
No, but you know,
Yes,
the
I know
guy,
her
the
name.
actor that couldn't see in the helmet and smashed his head, and they forgot to cut it out of the movie. Somebody was like, "That's no."
Best special edition change is hearing the bomb.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think
I just wanna see
don't
Knights of
think I
Ren.
ever noticed that.
Knights of Ren, and I think more Hux Kylo rivalry would be cool.
I would like to see the Knights of Ren. I would like to see Kylo be a horrible fascist and be defeated.
And
And
not
I
just
don't
pull a
want
Darth
him.
Vader.
I do not want to see Kylo Ren redeemed
Same.
Okay.
because he doesn't think there's anything wrong with him.
And I don't want
Vader always felt he was doing something bad.
Yeah.
Kylo Ren thinks he's the hero of this story, and I don't want to see him redeemed. I want to see him get chopped in half by Rey.
I think we need to see another Death Star.
I wouldn't hate it. I wouldn't hate it.
I wrote that joke yesterday.
We need to see the
I would
Sun
like it
Crusher.
just
Oh my
to see
God.
people
Sun
freak out.
For the world devastators.
It would it'd be awesome if it was just
Star
like they
Forge.
flew by
Oh
it
my
at some
God.
point in the movie.
Yes, I
Like
do.
one under construction, they
Explain
just
where the
all
First
fly
Order got the
by.
ships.
Nobody says a word.
Nobody says anything about it.
No, but yeah, I think, I don't want to invest too much into what I believe it should be, because that way lies madness and disappointment,
Yep.
as we've seen.
Yes.
So sorry.
But yeah, it'd be nice if we get some conclusion to this whole these missing students and becoming the Knights of Ren. That'd be nice. Obviously,
Knights after all.
we just have to have some thematic conclusion to everything of the new heroes coming in and ultimately taking charge. Do we continue some of those thematic ideas from Last Jedi, where anybody can be a hero, and suddenly we have Stable Boy, 5 years later, kind of semi-grown up and
It would
joining
need to
the
be a bigger
resistance
time
and stuff.
jump for him to be.
Kid was 10?
You think?
I don't know.
More like 6-ish. To me.
Young
Really?
Anakin
Okay.
age.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looked more like
E-
young Anakin.
Even
age.
with the young Yippee. He didn't do that, but he
Well,
might
even
as well.
at 10 and 11,
You know, young Anakin aged like 14 years and 3 years between those two movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of weird in the first movie with
When he had
Padme.
romantic
Yeah,
She
so
was
it's
like
with
way
an adult
older.
woman.
It
Yeah.
was like, this is weird. They're setting them up already. Like, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Are you an angel? Jesus Christ.
well, you see,
How about
I thought
how
he
about
was
the-
Jesus
the-
Christ.
Here's I don't want to see any kid characters.
No.
Everybody has to be grown up. That was the main mistake they made with Phantom Menace. Anakin was too fucking young. They should have started him at a teenager and up. So none of that shit. We want to see new generation of people, but let's say that they've grown up.
No, I don't
since
necessarily want to see the new. I want to see the current generation.
Yeah, you know what
that
I'm
we're
saying.
dealing
Like
with. I don't necessarily.
No, I want
need
to see. I want to see.
the
A
millennials
continuation
of, Star
what
Wars.
we saw.
That's the last thing we need
Yeah.
to see.
No,
Well, as we saw in Force Awakens, I mean, you don't have to be a kid. I mean, Rey didn't
Right.
even realize it was there until
Luke
she's supposed to
didn't
be in
either.
like early 20s.
Luke
like-
was supposed to be 17 when he realized that
Yeah.
he had the powers.
and he only realized because
Somebody told him.
Obi-Wan told him. But like,
It's like,
these
oh, by the
people
way,
all over the galaxy realizing, oh, I have this like weird
like
power.
how many
what am I
people
doing?
don't think about the fact, like they think like the Skywalkers are the Jedi. No, there were thousands of Jedi.
That's the best part about this movie is that it just pretty much says "fuck you" to everybody.
Yeah, there were
About that
thousands
shit.
of Jedi. Only a very few of them were Skywalkers.
But no, this universe needs
Too
to
many.
explode.
Two, yes.
Everybody
Two,
needs to be
exactly.
We
realized.
argue
Two.
too many of them were
Three.
Skywalkers.
I mean, her name should be Skywalker.
Yeah.
Caroline Saunders says
parenting.
the Jedi are going to go all Buffy. They won't die, but all those that can will be activated.
Could they be like Paul Rubens at the end of Good Buffy when he dies for 15 minutes?
Good Buffy?
Yeah, you heard me fucking
Oh,
say it.
man.
Good Buffy.
Jesus.
Oh, that's a
That
blow
show
for
was
you.
for
Joss Whedon would slap you for that.
Josh Whedon did one movie I liked called The Avengers.
I thought you were going to
Worst.
say Alien.
Yeah.
Oh no, I do like Alien 3. I do. I'm the guy.
Okay.
I'm the
Oh,
guy that
you're
liked
that
that.
one. No,
movie.
Alien
Yeah.
You're that one.
Was it
All right.
4?
Yeah,
Which one's
4.
in the prison?
4.
No.
Oh, no, he did
Which
do
one
3.
did-
3's in the prison, but he did 4 because they're all on the
All right,
ship.
fair enough.
hilarious.
It's one movie
Because
he's made that I liked.
the dynamic between that whole ship's crew is pretty much him working out ideas for Firefly, really.
Oh, is that the one with the hybrid
Yeah.
alien that's white?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, fuck Josh Whedon.
All right, so I think this
Good
is
Buffy.
here's a
I
good one
chewed
to
the
kind
very
of wrap things up and everything. Ted Hebert, who I'm assuming is your
My
father.
dad, yeah.
Sorry we said fuck.
He says, "Nice." Now he has to explain what a Tatooine steamer is to his mother.
To my mother, actually, not his. Good luck with that.
Oh, these crap points. They're too accurate for sand people.
All right, let's stop. We're not going to get better than that.
Definitely not topping that. Thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you had as much fun as we did, kind of geeking out and just doing something a little bit different. We will back to our regularly scheduled program next week. We'll have Mike Miz on the show. He's hopefully going to play a couple of songs for us and talk about his new album release coming up. So plenty of good stuff next week. But if you liked it, if you didn't like it, let us know. We would love to hear from you so that we know whether we should do this in the future. We're probably going to do it anyway the next time the Star Wars movie comes out. But
Solo podcast.
you know, I'm just
Don't real
saying,
Star Wars.
you know. But if enough of you hate me for it, then all right, I won't do it. You know, but
Sorry, Mom.
so thank you
Sorry to
all.
everyone's moms.
And their
Really.
dads.
That's mom. I feel like your dads are more fine with it than they let on with Mom around. Sorry to everybody's mom.
May the force be with you.
And also with you.
Spoken like a true Catholic.
Go
know it's
I've been
speed
waiting the
runners.
whole time. No, actually, I've been waiting for days. Sorry.
I don't mind being the guy to set you up. That's fine. All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night.